Hey, welcome back. So let me just tell you something. So I actually tried to record this video yesterday, but something happened due to which I had to restart. Anyways, I made this iceberg, and now I'm just going to get into it. Okay, I mean this is literally my third time recording this. I'm sick of this. Okay, so by the way, there's not going to be any images. I'm not so good in editing, like at least not yet. Maybe in the future, because see this is like the first big type of video I'm making on my channel. Everything else is just like a random game I play, right? This is like the first time I'm making a, I guess you could say, a big project. Anyways, let me just wait a second. I'm just going to start. Okay, so the first layer of the iceberg, vehicles and customization. This entry refers to the numerous amounts of vehicles in the game, as you may know, and just like the general means of customization we are provided, like in general. Not much, just basic game information. Weapons. Again, another basic piece of information. This entry talks about all the weapons in the game. These are, knife, pistol, laser gun, minigun, rocket launcher, the dynamite, which is known as the explosives in the game, grenades, turrets, shotgun, flamethrower, obviously. All of these weapons have a different type of use, but the intent is obviously the same, to kill someone. Story and campaign. So this is the final piece of basic information in this iceberg, because everything after is like lesser known. Anyways, this entry refers to the most popular modes of gameplay in Payback 2, the main campaign and the story mode. I'm not gonna go too much into depth, but the campaign has various stages including but not limited to Croak, Thief, Hitman, etc. The story has multiple levels, again including but not limited to ready or not, gangster tripping, going for gold, etc. Bots are based off real criminals. Now, the bots in Payback 2 are actually based off real criminals, yeah, believe it or not. Not all of them though. For example, Manson, who's actually the most aggressive bot in the game, is based off the real life cult leader Charles Manson, who is considered one of the worst criminals in US history. Uh, and then there's also Biggs, who's based on Ronnie Biggs, Bonnie and Clyde based on, well, Bonnie and Clyde, Capone based on Al Capone, Fox being based on Guy Fawkes, and so on. Now the first layer is over, now we're going to the second layer, old physics. This entry refers to the old physics of the game. For example, ramping with cars was much less fun because the gravitational force was much stronger. Due to this, the cars would immediately get pulled down. There were also other differences, but I'm not going to talk too much about them. Old graphics. The old graphics of Payback 2 were much different than the current ones. For example, everything had less polygons. The human characters also looked different. For example, the shotgun, which in the current version is a sawn-off shotgun, used to be a pump action shotgun. The rocket used to be just like a little white tube, and the helicopter also used to be an attack helicopter, but it was later changed to a more civilian one. Media references. Payback 2 has a lot of media references. The most notable being the bots Walter and Kiddo, being characters from Breaking Bad and Kill Bill respectively, Walter White and Beatrix Kiddo. The loading screen dialogues are also sometimes like from other pieces of media. For example, the dialogue, "We're gonna need a bigger boat," is actually a slightly modified version of an iconic line from the movie Jaws. Snowmen. This entry refers to the numerous snowmen scattered across snowy maps. They can be destroyed to unlock the achievement Snowman's Lair. These snowmen can also be burned by weapons. Absurd costs of some items. It is no secret that some items in the Payback store cost an outrageous amount of coins. For example, to get a blue explosion effect for the rocket launcher, you need 245 coins, and for a rainbow effect, you need an insane amount of coins, that is 595 coins. Due to this, most players do not buy these items due to each ad being watched only giving out 3 coins, and since ads are the only way to earn coins. Bundy and Bronson. Bundy and Bronson were deleted bots that only really showed up in not two, but they only showed up in I think one trailer, I think. And obviously they were based on Ted Bundy and Charles Bronson. It's unknown why they weren't added in the final game. Grenade spam. Grenade spam was an old technique usable before the 2018 graphical overhaul update. You could drop multiple grenades in a very short amount of time, due to which massive damage could have been inflicted. Now we're moving on to the third layer, and this is where things get interesting. Get ready. Dragon slash gargoyles. This entry refers to the countless amounts of dragon statues that can be found in the game. These can also be destroyed, but they are extremely durable. It is unknown as to why these are the only statues in the game, because there's no human statue. Spanish community. The Spanish speaking side of the Payback community is quite interesting. Unlike the English speaking side, the Spanish side seems to be much more enthusiastic about the game. Most Payback 2 mysteries, tips and tricks, etc. actually come from the Spanish side due to their activeness and ambition regarding the game. It is why most content you will find of Payback 2 will be made by a Spanish speaking person most likely. Spanish Cannibal. The Cannibal NPC is a mystery that originated in, well, the Spanish side of the community. I couldn't find much info on the NPC as he has been mentioned very few times. Apparently, he is tied to the story somehow. In one of the story missions, the caller tells us to pick up a briefcase dropped by a man named Jimmy. Upon our character asking what is inside, the caller says that we don't wanna know. This is the only evidence I could find for this. Wildlife extinction. You might have noticed that there is absolutely no wildlife in Payback. Many people have theorized that the absence of wildlife is either caused by extreme violence that happens in the maps or just no area for the animals to live in. Though that still leaves the question of the absence of pets unanswered. Obviously, from a development standpoint, animals weren't added due to time, hardware, or budget limitations, or because they didn't want to add them. But it is still interesting to think about. Reload skip. Reload skip is a frequently used technique which allows players to skip the reload for weapons, most notably the rocket launcher. It can be done by shooting with the rocket, quick switching to the minigun, shooting one bullet, and immediately switching back to the rocket. Due to this, the reload animation is cancelled and you can fire rockets almost simultaneously. This trick is used extensively by the greatest PvPers of the game. Interestingly, in the earlier version, you could spam the rocket by holding down to aim and releasing quickly, but later it was nerfed due to the addition of reload animations. Alien skin. This entry refers to the infamous alien skin. It can be seen in multiplayer only. So basically, unless you have it obviously, but basically it is most famously used by hackers, and it's like a character in a cop outfit who's also very tall. It has exaggerated muscles and also has like a distinct color. For example, it can be like fully red or yellow. And other than that, it's just like a skin that hackers have. So yeah. Ragdoll physics. Everyone knows that Payback 2 has ragdoll physics. Albeit weightless, they are still there. However, it didn't always have them. In the older versions, our character would do an eye pose and fall. Once the graphical overhaul update of 2018 was added, the first version of ragdolls were also added, though they were very slow and unrealistic. In the later versions, they improved the ragdoll physics. Hackers. Nearly every game has hackers. Payback is no exception. You can encounter various types of hackers in Payback 2 servers, but they are mostly known as scripters by the community. Notable examples include Joker Scripter, who actually didn't use his scripts to disturb gameplay but instead tested them out in single player, along with Lazy GG Scripter. Nowadays, the original scripters are gone. Now you can mostly find Fonk hack users. Breakable glass. There are multiple breakable glass panes scattered throughout on all maps of the game, nearly all maps. Pretty much, not all maps, but most of them. So you can break them and pretty much get whatever's inside. It can be a weapon or like a piece of information. Though I think that's only limited to the story. Or they can also just be broken to create an extra pathway. Now finally, the third last layer of the iceberg, the fourth layer. Creepy locations. This entry refers to the numerous strange, off-putting and downright creepy locations that can be found in the game. These locations are really empty, dark and mysterious. The most famous examples are the rooms in the outskirts of Destra City. Destra City weapons. Destra City has a lot of weapons. There is no lore reason as to why there are so many weapons. Due to this, most players have been led to believe that Destra City was a war zone at one point or the other, which could also explain the tank that can be found, and also the rooms with beds and weapons in the outskirts of the city. Mob walls. This entry refers to the mafia dynamic in the story mode of the game. In the story mode missions, there are a lot of missions which involve you fighting another gang or mafia, which implies that the cities in Payback 2 are actually controlled by various mafia families. That leads to the question, what mafia do the bots in the campaign belong to? Or are they loners? Is the player in the campaign the same as the player in the story? Payback 3 email. This entry refers to the very first email talking about Payback 3. One of the creators of Payback 2, James Daniels, confirmed Payback 3 through these emails. However, Payback 3 was first mentioned around 7 years ago as of filming this. Payback 3 vehicle models. This entry refers to the vehicles and other models that are apparently going to be featured in Payback 3. These models are truly wonderful and a great upgrade from Payback 2. And the great thing is that they were uploaded a long time ago, so that means that the actual models in Payback 3 will be likely even more polished than the actual game. Multiplayer ranks. This entry refers to the rank system in multiplayer. Unlike what you would expect, the rank system is similar to a military rank system, with Supreme Commander being the highest rank. Void game mode. Void is a rare and mysterious game mode that can sometimes appear in multiplayer servers. Since I don't play multiplayer that much, I haven't encountered it, but according to sources, it is triggered by hackers and also ends very abruptly. Layer 5. Excessive violence. It is no secret that Payback 2 is packed to the brim with loads and loads of violence. So much so that it sometimes not only rivals but also overtakes GTA games. The question is, how did the game not get in trouble? One play session and you'll immediately realize how brutal the game truly is. You can crush NPCs, shoot them, drown them, blow them up, burn them, and you can even see their charred corpses after you burn them. Sudden lag. Suddenly lagging is a very common occurrence in the game. Even with very powerful devices, you can still get lag spikes every once and then. From what I know, they are much less frequent compared to the older versions. Now you can rarely get them 1 to 3 times assuming you play for 2 hours for an entire week. The reason behind this lag, I do not know. Entrance to the exterior. uh, Entrance to the exterior. This entry refers to, now let me just tell you something. There was actually the entry called entrance to hell. I changed it out in the script because it sounds like way too corny, I guess. That's why in the script it's written as entrance to the exterior. So this entry refers to the various holes, I guess you could say, in the terrain you can find, which are really just poorly made areas. Going through these will make you fall off the map and die, and the death message will say that you drowned all the time. The GTA games also have this, most famously GTA San Andreas, having the interior world called by the community as the Blue Hell. Player's voice. The player, despite being quiet for the most part of the game, can actually be heard talking. I am not talking about the dialogues you hear when you steal a car. Throughout the story mode, the player can be heard, for example, the player saying, this could come in handy, and caught by the fuzz after receiving the key. The only way to hear the player's voice in the campaign is to steal a vehicle or get burnt. Also, the accent of the player reveals that the player is most likely British, just like the developers of Payback 2. Payback 1 Gore. This entry refers to the gore that can be found in Payback 1 and some older versions of Payback 2. It consisted of blood cloud effects that are still in the game, but also blood pools after inflicting damage. It is unknown why it was removed in Payback 2, however, in my opinion, it is most likely to prevent lag. As if you have played Payback 2 before, you will know that the game can get very chaotic at times, and having a blood pool every time someone takes damage would really affect the performance. Still, I wish they added it back as an option. Shadow updates. From what I know, this entry only refers to the game's tendency to update without prior notification, or without even stating it in the update log. My experience with this was the 2018 graphical overhaul update. I remember I was playing the campaign event called Two Tribes and I completed it, and when I restarted it to play again, the player models were suddenly much more realistic, along with the weapons. In this case, my game updated and upgraded to perhaps the biggest defense version, all without telling me. Lost levels. This entry refers to the levels and events that many people, including me, remember playing, but we cannot find them in the game. And this isn't just a Mandela effect. According to some players, in the old version, the game would put you into a randomized match for a warm up if you returned after some time. If this is true, then that means such a feature was removed. It is unknown as to why it was removed. Okay, so this one is interesting. Sea monster. So there was basically a clip taken in Alijo city from the player's perspective. The player was in a helicopter flying over the body of water that divides the map in two pieces. However, there was a movement in the water in that clip. This has led to the speculation that there is a sea monster lurking in the Payback 2 world. Now, it may seem foolish to immediately assume that it's a sea monster, and yes, even I think it's foolish, but it is still a mystery nonetheless. The video was taken in single player, so it cannot be another player. Also, the recording player wouldn't have enough time to throw something in the water, get in the helicopter, fly up, start recording, all before it drowns completely. When I was doing research for this video, another great player of the game, a guy who goes by Super Tank H on Reddit, told me that it was actually a light pole which was seen. However, due to neither of us being able to confirm nor deny it being a light pole, this still remains a mystery. I believe there might be a developmental error which causes the water to glitch out extremely rarely on that spot. Also, no, the helicopter doesn't have any physical effect on the water in this game, unlike real life, so it can't make the water move. Government experiment. So, this is the theory I made. This entry refers to a theory that I came up with. I believed at one point that Payback 2 is a government experiment. I'm saying one point because I later modified this theory to something even crazier. You'll get to know the newer, even better theory in the last layer. So you might have noticed that the Payback 2 maps are a bit strange. Ever realized the map borders? Payback 2 maps have big black walls that prevent you from leaving maps. Not all of them, but a lot of them. No real city has walls like that. There's also constant crime that happens in the maps, the bots in campaign, the player, and the various mobs and gangs in the story mode. Yet there is never an attempt to stop anyone other than the player. There is one prison in the entire game located in Corona City. No other city has a prison despite so much crime. My theory is that the maps are made by the government to test the player, the stat section too. In the stat section, you can see your total crimes. That's just the government keeping track in my opinion. Not convinced yet? You'll love the next theory. So finally, the sixth layer of the iceberg, the last layer. This is the most interesting one, as it's filled with the most interesting information. Let's do this. Hidden rooms. This entry refers to the various hidden rooms in the maps. For example, the rooms with weapons and the rooms with beds in Desta City. However, there also are some very unique places. For example, in the Metropolis map, there is a room which you can enter. However, you cannot leave it once you have entered it. Similarly, there are also some places you can reach only by unconventional means. Amiga Boing Ball. Payback 1 was actually released on the Amiga, and the Boing Ball of Amiga can actually be found in Payback 2 as an Easter egg. This can be found in Desta City near the Mega Ramp. Similarly to how you can find photos of James Daniels on some maps. Terrorism. This entry refers to the various acts of terrorism committed in the game, both by the player and NPCs. For example, in Born Slippy, in one of the payphone missions, you are tasked to blow up a building with a rigged truck. In one of the missions in Gangster Tripping, a garage is blown up by an enemy gang. In Going for Gold, you have to blow up a building because the residents supposedly didn't pay protection money. It is a question as to how this game didn't get in trouble, considering all such content. Endless Ocean. The Payback 2 maps, just like GTA maps, are surrounded by huge oceans. Payback 2 has no marine life, but this leads to the thought that Payback 3 will almost certainly have an actual sea monster due to the confirmed marine life as derived from the submarine leak. Unused maps. This entry refers to the various unused maps. Believe it or not, but very few Payback 2 maps are actually made by the developers. Most of them were actually user-made maps for Payback 1 that were ported to Payback 2. This is why Payback 2 can indirectly be said to have a huge catalog of unused maps. It is truly interesting to think what we could have had. I hope they bring back the map editor in Payback 3. Blue Star. You might have noticed a shiny blue star in the sky in some maps. Nobody talks about it. What is it? Why does it look like that? Is Payback 2 set in a different solar system? No. The star in question is based off a real star you can see when looking straight up. It's called the North Star, which is also called Polaris. It is the biggest star in the Ursa Minor constellation and it is known for its fixed position in the northern celestial pole. Now, the way Polaris looks in the game isn't accurate at all, since the way it looks in the game can only be replicated via zooming in on it in real life. In the game, uh, obviously it's much brighter in the game than it is in real life. So when we look at Polaris in real life, we see it as a much less brighter and much smaller star than we do in Payback 2. Burning Sound's origin. This entry refers to the sounds triggered when the player, an NPC, or just any other human in the game is burned. The sound effect is actually incredibly disturbing and unsettling if you pay attention, yet you don't really pay attention due to the constant violence in the game. Thanks to help from Reddit users, u/supertank, u/lpatriot, Kabini underscore Lindo actually, and u/super mega hyper smart. The origin of the sounds was, if I remember correctly, an audio sample file. Keep in mind, supertank H, lpatriot, Kabini underscore Lindo, and super mega hyper smart. They helped out a lot in making this video. Now finally, the second last entry of the iceberg. Grasslands near House Park. This entry refers to the grassy areas that can be seen near the House Park map, or pretty much outside the map, stranded in the sea in House Park. For some reason, nobody talks about them. The House Park map is mostly taken up by the racetrack and empty grasslands. Now, I originally thought that the map may have been unfinished, but the original description of the map in Payback 1 states that it was indeed finished. Now, I would have wished it to be more alive, but I find something beautiful and peaceful about House Park. The main part of the map is so cramped yet comfy, lively, and the big unexplored part, in my opinion, feels incredibly free. Now finally, it's here guys, the last entry of the Payback 2 iceberg, the Truman Show theory. The final entry of this iceberg. I'll just cut to the chase. Payback 2 is actually a snuff film and we are the protagonist. Seems insane? Well, here. First of all, the maps. The maps are all surrounded by black walls that like I already talked about. And there are actually walls on pretty much every map with no nearby land outside. No real life cities made like this. Speaking of cities, the Payback 2 cities also don't seem to have hospitals, schools, and other essential commodities. There are also no children either. So, how is the population stable? Then there's the biodiversity, or lack thereof. There are no animals in the Payback world. How is the city being sustained? There are no insects for the environment, no meat production either. And since there is no port or airport, there is definitely no importing or exporting. Then the missions. In the story mode, we aren't really made clear of the identity of our gang or our boss. There also isn't any other big mafia besides ours, which is a bit illogical, as in a place as unsafe as the Payback world, there will 100% be more than one mob family. And it's not like our mob boss is very feared or anything. I mean, they literally kidnapped the boss's daughter in a story mission, and it is heavily implied that the boss's wife actually cheats on him. There are also weapons lying around yet nobody takes them besides the player. At least in GTA games, they're either hidden in extremely sketchy locations or they just aren't canon. Meanwhile, in Payback, sometimes the phone guy openly tells you to take a weapon from wherever you find it. The Corona City prison is also guarded very improperly, and yet apparently no one has ever escaped it, according to the map description. Also, the guards in Caught by the Fuzz don't shoot at any other prisoner except you. The player gets released if busted no matter how terrible the player's crimes are. Even when you complete a mission, you can hear audience cheering sounds, which I think is a direct hint. In my opinion, our character is just a criminal who is secretly being recorded, at best a crime documentary, and at worst a snuff film. So, that was it. That was my payback to Iceberg. There's a cat making mating calls outside my house. Uh, Anyways, I'm just gonna end the video here. I'm tired due to speaking. I know this was a long time in the making, but I hope you guys can tell what I was saying this whole time. Bye.